Welcome to episode 87B is what we're going to call this week's episode. This is a midweek episode. We come to you with one of these every now and then. I want to talk to you about something going on right now and also preview Mondays, or I think at this point we might be releasing it Tuesday because we're recording it on Monday, our next episode 88, Luke Macias show. So some great stuff is happening in Lubbock, Texas. They just submitted the signatures needed to put an initiative on the ballot in order to make Lubbock a sanctuary city for the unborn. Conservatives, Texas Tech YCT, conservative activists that we know in the Lubbock area all came together and collected 5,000 signatures necessary to submit them to city council so that they could have a conversation in the city of Lubbock about not participating in the barbaric act of abortion in their city. This is momentous because there have been quite a few cities that have been passing these sanctuary city resolutions. The scorecard has covered some of those. The Texan has covered quite a bit of those cities that have taken that action. Lubbock is going to, of course, be the largest city to do so, and this was an initiative being pushed by the citizens because their city council won't push it. So the places that the city council has been willing to take these courageous acts have been in very small Texas cities, and cities the size of Lubbock have not been willing to take those same stance. And so here is where the citizens have taken action themselves and begun to organize to the point that they're going to be able to get this initiative on the ballot, we believe. So what we're going to talk about next week is I'm going to have Representative Jonathan Stickland in studio, and we're going to have a conversation. Jonathan and I last session fought a couple battles directly in regards to the unborn. We were in the Capitol actively advocating for protecting the unborn and even pushed specific language onto legislation that made it more clear to cities that they had the option of outlawing abortion within the city. And those efforts were opposed significantly by leadership in the Texas House. And that's what we're actually going to talk about next week. So for those of you who I really would encourage any pro-life Texan to listen, because I do think it's important that, one, we be transparent about how much Republican leadership in the Texas House doesn't actually care about protecting the unborn, or really, I would say, are scared of the life issue. And then second of all, Republicans, especially Republicans in the Texas legislature, need to have somewhat of an awakening to the reality of the chamber that they are in. And it's important for us to learn from our mistakes. I would hope that the legislators that asked Jonathan Stickland and other legislators to stand down in their attempts to protect the unborn can look back now and realize that they were being short-sighted in those requests. And so we're going to bring some of those real life stories to light, and we're going to let you get a little bit of a peek into the window on how the Texas legislature operates on the issue of life. So that is going to be next week's episode. And just to build the case for the impact that we've seen, we had Louisiana pass stronger pro-life legislation than Texas. Some of you followed those acts, and that was done by, the author was a Democrat in the legislature, and they have a Democrat governor who signed that legislation into law. And these are pro-life laws that are stronger than what we have here in Texas because our Texas leadership has not wanted to take the bold stances that the Democrat governor in Louisiana wanted to take. So all of a sudden there became this potential that some women would be crossing over the border from Louisiana to Texas to have their abortions in Texas. And so you had several small cities there very close to the Louisiana and Texas border that said we're going to be sanctuary cities for the unborn so that abortion clinics cannot build here and then market to Louisiana women to come get their abortions here in the Lone Star State. And then that started a cascading effect of all of these cities all across Texas taking strong stances on this issue. So these are, I think, incredible wins for conservatives in Texas because we got the discussion moving in the direction of understanding the value of human life. And we're actually seeing a lot of that today and yesterday and the day before in the confirmation hearings of Amy Coney Barrett, where we have for the first time a female justice who is outspokenly pro-life, who's been nominated to the Supreme Court. Now, Amy Coney Barrett has articulated the reality that the position she has taken publicly on the issue of abortion and on her belief and the Catholic Church's belief in the sanctity of human life reflects the stances she took as a private citizen, and those are stances that she took 15 years ago when she signed different statements that align her with her faith and with her church's view on the sanctity of human life. And she's getting pressed hard by Democrats on this issue. But I appreciate the fact that U.S. Senator Josh Hawley or even Senator Lindsey Graham today brought to light the fact that this is momentous, that somebody can have views that are in accordance with their faith and in accordance with their scientific understanding of human life, and that does not in any way disqualify them from serving in higher office. This is part of the discussion that we want to continue to have, because if we do not value life as a society and as a state, and if Texas in particular is too scared to address these issues, then we are going to continue to fall behind and follow other states, even some run by Democrats, in their efforts to pass stronger pro-life legislation in the nation. So again, next week, what we're going to do is we're going to sit down with Jonathan Stickland, and we're going to kind of open up your eyes a little bit to the culture regarding the life issue in the Texas House of Representatives. I'm looking forward to it. This is a conversation I've been wanting to bring to you for some time, and I think it's going to be a little eye-opening for many of you to hear the type of conversations that happen on the House floor when it comes to the life issue. Thank you so much for listening. Continue to follow the confirmation hearings of Amy Coney Barrett this week. I would encourage you to do so. It's rather important. If you haven't voted, we want to just encourage all Texans to get on vote. We are seeing record numbers. By the way, I went to vote yesterday. It was the first day of early voting, and I drove by, Tuesday was the first day of early voting, right? I mean, my days are getting so mixed up. My weeks are just kind of blending together. But I went to vote in Comal County, and there was a 3-hour wait, and I needed to cast my ballot and decided not to do so yesterday. And I still have not early voted, but I will be early voting this week. My wife will be early voting. My siblings will be voting. And I want to encourage each and every one of you to vote. If you don't know who you're going to vote for, just take a little bit of time to do some research, decide how far down the ballot you want to go and how many people you want to support. Remember, who your judge is greatly affects your community. And so you should try to vote all the way down the ballot. And then, as I want to encourage you, I've encouraged you to do this last week, but we have an episode in the Luke Macias Show just titled, How Many Times Are You Going to Vote This Election? And what I went through there was just a reminder that if you go vote early and you post a picture on every single one of your social media platforms with a little sticker and say, hey, I went out and I cast my ballot, and oh, by the way, I did research and have opinions all the way down the ballot, you will be surprised how many of your friends reach out and say, hey, I know who I'm voting for president, but can you please tell me your opinion further down the ballot? If you are somebody of a more conservative persuasion, you will still have people in the middle of the road, even of the more conservative side of the Democrat Party, that will reach out and say, I'm willing to vote for a Republican down the ballot if you can give me a case for why I should do that. And so if you might not be able to persuade somebody on how they're going to vote at the very top of the ticket, and you might be able to, but take the time to put yourself out there and tell people you have voted and tell people you have opinion on who they could or should vote for, because you will have people that reach out and say, oh, I'm going to go vote. I only have an opinion at the top. What are you going to do the rest of the way down? And you can send them your list. And you, in effect, are going to be voting more than once as a result, because many Texans will go in and vote for president, U.S. Senate, maybe their congressman, and they will walk out of the ballot box unless they have an idea of who else is on the ballot box. So I would encourage each and every one of you to just consider taking that action. Vote early, take a picture, post it on all your social media platforms, and then be willing to share with other people how you voted down the ballot and how you would encourage them to consider voting as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to coming to you next week with even more content and an insight into the culture of the Texas House in regards to the sanctity of human life. Thank you. Thank you for watching the Luke Macias Show. This show is brought to you by Scorecard Media. Please visit texasscorecard.com to read up on all things Texas. Scorecard also has multiple other podcasts. Now, they're not as good as this show, but you should still check them out. If you want to support our podcast, please consider subscribing on any of the platforms that you're listening to us on or watching us here on Facebook or YouTube. Leave a review as well. This helps other Texans find our content and allows our show to grow. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless Texas.